Okay, alhamdulillah. Allah fi kulli umri yasta'in. Wa Allah fi kulli umri amjid. Innahu Rabbi yuhibbu muslimin wa mu'minin. Akibatun lil mustaqim. Muhammadan huwa sayyidina makbubana. Innahu kana rasulan nabiyan. Innahu kana mukhlisan azima. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Lil ikwani wa ikwati fi din. Salamu ala mani taba' huda. Lil ikwani wa ikwati fi Afrika wa Asia wa Europa wa America wa kulli makan. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters that are here now and those who show up in the future for the continuing series about the Nawaaqid al-Islam Ashura, which is part of Tawheed. And these 10 nullifiers of Islam remove you from the religion. They're very harsh, and a lot of people don't like to talk about them, and there's a lot of Muslims do not understand it, and you have to be taught it. And it ruffles a lot of feathers of Muslims, especially the modern Muslims today, and it ruffles the feathers of the enemies of Islam, because they want the Muslims to remain sleepy, and they want them to remain misguided, so that way they can control and reign over them. So the Nawaaqid al-Islam Ashura has been around for many centuries. And it's the consensus of all of the ulama and fuqaha, these are scholars, are learned men, that they all agree on the 10 nullifiers of Islam. There's no differences here on that. No person, unless he can prove to me a Muslim, come forward and say that certain madhabs, because we have these type of fanatics who go by a madhab and they'll say, if you go to the bathroom with madhab, or you go in the bathroom under. That's how fanatical some of them are. And they will, some of the ones who are hypocrites will try to denounce the nullifiers of Islam. They cannot, because they have the proofs, and the fuqaha ulama, the consensus is unanimous. It's all agreement that you have Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, and these 10 things can remove you from it. Some that you're removed as basically as a disbeliever. Others, you're a disbeliever and you've apostated out from the religion. So today we're going to talk about two Muslims, two different Muslims, but their effect upon the Muslim community is devastating. These two type of Muslims kill a lot of Muslims over many centuries, starting back to the time of the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, to we speaking today. They are in the business to kill their brothers, Muslims. These people who engage in these two things here are not actually Muslims. But in this context, I must use the term Muslim, because for those who are new to this, may not understand the Nawaaqid al-Islam, the nullifiers of Islam. So I have to give these people in reference as Muslims at this time, until the takfir has been made upon them by the virtue of these particular two conditions. And I make no, as usual, you know me, I make no apologies about my hatred for these kind of people, for these type of people who call themselves Muslims and they do this. And most of the scholars of Islam have no sympathy or any reference to them as well. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat that at all. And as you know, as I say, Subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like them. And he's made mention so many places in the Quran. He doesn't like these kind of people. He doesn't like them. And so therefore, I'm not going to apologize about what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says. As you always hear me say, Innani aqulu ma yaqul, I say what the Quran says. And our Prophet, alayhi salatu salam, Innani aqulu ma yaqul, I say what he says. So I want to make sure it's unequivocally that I will not mix words here or apologize for the Nawaaqid al-Islam, apologize for what Subhanahu wa ta'ala has deemed them to be in the Quran. I will not apologize for our Prophet who talks against them, has made takfir against them. He's made judgment against them. I will not apologize for that and defend the modern Muslims and those who engage in this. With that said, let me go over here to the chat room. Assalamu alaikum, my dear sister Amina. And Mystic, how you doing, my dear sister? And my brothers and sisters who will show up in the near future. This coverage here, now we're on 7. I did not go into the 6. I bypassed that because most Muslims today, they don't utter this type of disbelief in public. They may talk and mock Islam in private. Very few mock Islam in public. So I kind of stopped that one. Now we're going to go into one that as you heard me say last week, it's an eyesore in Africa. Africa, basically, and maybe some parts of India, and maybe some parts of Pakistan, Bangladesh, and maybe some of the Southeast Asian cultures, but nobody has practicing more magic and sorcery than in Africa. You know, when I got to Africa, I did not believe in it because I've seen movies and I said, oh, you know, I doubt it's true. But when I came here to Africa, to Morocco in particular, I learned this stuff was real. And I've had a number of occasions where these individuals have done things against me as well. And the use of magic is a crime, a vicious crime in Islam. And I'll get into some of the history behind this and how deadly it is. They even tried to practice this on our dear Prophet, alayhi salatu salam. And it was successful in getting some of the Sahaba really in a bad way. Because you remember the hadiths that talk about two types of incidents. One, the poisoning of the Prophet alayhi salatu salam and his companions. And then there was this, but there was another one before that. There was a Jewish sorcerer who actually put a spell on our Prophet and many of the companions. And what happened was the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam got sick. He realized that some sorcery was used on him. So he asked Subhanahu wa ta'ala about who the person was and where was the vial, because the doctors, and my wife and I was talking about that today. We had brilliant doctors even way back in the 7th century. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam relied on them. And they said, look, we need to find the vials of this magic, the sorcery that is being used. He prayed to Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanahu wa ta'ala told him where it was. He's dispatched the Hezbollah, some of the companions to a ditch, and there was a hole. They picked it up and took it out. And there's the substance that was in it. So they got that, and they did what they had to do, burn it, and they got this sorcerer and they executed him. So that goes to those who say they're Muslims in Africa, who say they're Muslim, they use this and say there's no recourse against them. There are recourses against it. Now, this is if we were lived under the Khilafah. But today they can openly practice this because there's no Sharia to speak of that actually stops them from doing it. But they're still undercover. They don't walk down the street and sell their portions to people and go out on a sign and say, hey, you come in this house and I'll read your fortune. They don't do that here in Morocco. they did that, I'm gonna tell you right now, some of the brothers here would burn that place down. And no telling what would happen to the sorcerer. They probably get him and he probably disappear before the police can get to him. So they operate under the radar, but they are here, believe me. And every place I've moved, and since I've been here in my 15 years, some of these people, they have been around me and they've been activated. And we have troubles all the time with these people, and they focus. And some of the things they do is so wicked that they're under some spell of the devil. How can a person operate from the time of Fajr prayer in the morning all the way to 1 o'clock in the morning? They're moving back and forth without stop. I mean, back and forth, running, jumping, and they play this type of. I'm giving you what is real. They play a music that summons the demons, and it's an eerie sound. There's no sound like it on this earth. It's an eerie sound. It's by flutes, and the sound is so vicious. If you are a Muslim, you know this sound. It's ugly, it's nasty, and they summons the devil. They play this continuously, all night long, and it's a vicious from the morning to the night, and he summons the shaitan. This is real, my dear brothers and sisters. This is why this particular nullifier is talked about. And so I'm going to get into it here now with that backdrop. The Muslims who practice, and we know this in Arabic is sihr and sha'wudha, okay, magic and sorcery. Okay, sihr, magic, and sha'wudha is the sorcery. And we know that these Muslims practice this on other Muslims in particular. And it's funny. These particular individuals do not practice this on the disbelievers. That's funny, isn't it? Even though the disbelievers are in front of their faces in the Muslim lands, they will not touch them. They will not even lay one hand on them. They will not summon the devil and the demons against them. But they summons the devil and the demons against the Muslims. And we have husbands who summons the demons against their wives. And we have wives who summon the demons against their husbands. This is real, my brothers and sisters. It's happening in Muslim lands as well as in other places too. In Nigeria, northern Nigeria, and Kano, which they under the Sharia, they catch the sorcerers, they execute them. Here we don't execute them, but we have methods for them. And that's why I say, when the brothers here catch them, there's no mercy on them. And nobody turns in the brothers who actually wiping them out, because their magic and their sorcery is so vicious and vile that they hurt a lot of people, and many they kill. And it's a sad epitaph, but it's happening a lot in the Muslim world today. So they believe that they are still Muslimin. They'll go through what we call in Islam makayid, which is like machinations from the devil. And they'll have periods where they're out of it, okay? Because they're now entrenched with evil spirits. And therefore they'll do things under this. When they come out of this makayid, machinations of shaitan, is this what this means? They go to resume their life back as Muslims. They pray, they fast, they say alhamdulillah, they read the Quran, they make dhikr Allah, they do all of this. That's only as a show because they don't want to be discovered. But they believe in their heart that they're still Muslims. And then they even believe this after they use this on their wife or their husband or other Muslims, or a brother who sees a beautiful girl and the girl says no to him. So he goes to one of these sorcerers and he wants a potion. He says, you see this girl over here, Amina, I want to marry her, but she will not look at me. He will devise a potion to where he can get it to him, and he uses against the girl to make the girl come to him. This is real. This is real, my brothers and sisters. We have Muslims using this, and they do it. And the consensus of the Muslims are clear, of the ulama al-fuqaha are clear on this, that these people are not Muslimin. And we know also that your prayer for 40 days is gone. That's if you make repentance. But those who are repetitively doing it, I mean, like we have some people that are around that do this around here, and they don't stop, okay? And so they're, subhanahu wa ta'ala forgot about them. They don't even pray. All they do is concentrate on going after the Muslims that surround them. And their whole day is focused on going after Muslims. And that's why I say why these people here are worse than hypocrites, because they do not touch the enemies of Allah. They do not touch them. They don't legislate against them. They don't put one portion against them. They love them. The enemy come to them, the Tubab in particular, the Salibiyin Tubab, he'll go to the sorcerer, and the sorcerer treats him as though he's a king, treats him as though he's the king of the land. But if you or me as a Muslim, strong, go to this guy, he's cursing us. And anyway, we will get close to him, because the minute you got close to him, you see the devil that's between you and me and him. And you couldn't get to him. First thing you do is start praying against him, because you wouldn't want to get close to him. He wouldn't want to get close to you either. But I'm just giving you how these people operate. And when I saw these people, when I see them, I had these incidents back a couple of years ago when I used to go to Master. They know I hate them. So they brought one, and he would walk towards me when I would come to Fajr prayer because it's dark. And I'm telling you, my brothers and sisters, I saw the devil behind this man. And when he walked towards me, I didn't step aside for him. I made dhikr Allah. And I cursed this sorcerer. Each time he passed by me, I cursed him. Islamically, words from the Quran against him. And I let him know that I'm afraid of him. I cursed this guy each time. And he brought him, the Salibiyin, the Tubab, the works around against the Muslims in the Muslim lands, they got this guy. They brought him to come after me. So I want to give you a history, because I don't mix meat on this. And you know my dislike for the Salibiyin. I don't mix no meat about that. And against the modern Muslim who works with the Salibiyin. So as we get back to this, what is the actual meaning? What is the Muslims, the fuqaha, the ulama have said about the meaning of sihr and shawada in the terms of Islamic terms? I'm looking at it here. One famous Sheikh Islam talked about this issue here, and I'm translating here in Arabic. It's the worship of things that are hidden. Now listen to how clever these words are. This is some of our brightest scholars from every age said about this. They talked about magic and shawada, the sorcery, is that the worship is of things that are hidden. Interesting. Then they say that it's a hidden art that encompasses a part of the night that most of us do not know, and we do not see, nor do we feel. Now listen to my words, my brothers and sisters, what they said about this magic and sorcery, how clever the words are, talking about the deadliness of this particular art. It is no joke. This is what they say here about it. And they go on to talk about the definition, further definition of it. They talk about this time, and they use, again, clever words in Arabic. Here they're talking about the you know, like right before dawn, right? You know dawn is coming, but you still don't see it, but you know it, you feel it. In this particular time, there's a time and period that these dreadful human beings actually are still plotting their evilness for the day. And they talk about here that it's in between this time of daylight and of the darkness. This is what they talk about the sihr and the sha'wuzah, the sorcery and magic. And they go on to talk about this more. And there's 10 pages talking about this. Now, let me give you a backdrop, my brothers and sisters, on this. This is an art. And you have some of the most brilliant scholars who have been taught. And subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them with knowledge. He's given them knowledge to educate the Muslims against these dreadful human beings. And so you go to these Muslims, these scholars here to learn about this particular thing. And we have them on YouTube. You can find it. You just put magic, sorcery, and some speak English now too. And they will go through this and you'll be shocked what you will hear and find about these guys. And about the sorcerers and the ones who practice magic. So when the Muslim who is disaffected by this is hurt, and we know, because I know my wife had told me in the past something that happened to her dear mother, where somebody used this on her and they almost killed her. This is many, many years ago. And they suspected two people, a man and a wife, but they could not prove it under Islam. You cannot. You cannot go and say, I think you did it. It's not good enough. They could not prove it, but they suspected that these two people did it. And she was out for a long time. And how they got to her, they don't know. But when my wife talks about this, it hurts her a lot because she was a little girl at this time. So she's had direct relationship with this as well. So when we look at the definition of that, again, it's a worship about things that are hidden. This is true, because it's not something that is in open. They don't walk outside and do this type of thing, worshiping in front of the public. It's hidden. It's hidden ibadah, a worship in Arabic. Ibadah is a worship in secret, and it's a secret art. It's a deadly art. It's an art where it encompasses the night, but it's the part of the night that you and I don't see, or you and I don't feel, and you and I don't see, but they do, because they're involved with the devil and his demons. So they have something that's entrapping them in the nighttime, that they see things, they feel things that you and me don't feel. This is why these people are so deadly. And it's a poisoning of sorts that that happens. This is why, my brothers and sisters, I'll give you one thing. My wife and I talked about this before too many times. Do you know that our Prophet ﷺ has talked about this too? This is for our dear sisters, and I must warn them, because today we have so much wickedness and evil and devilish around us. You sisters, never parade around your house naked. No, don't do that. Never lay in your bed naked. Don't do it. We have incidences. We know this type of thing happened because we have people and they have footprints on their bodies. Who put it there? This wasn't some man that came and did this. This is something because some shaitan was attracted to a naked woman. Yes. And when our scholars, our experts came to investigate, they found these marks and the stuff. You know what has happened. Somebody has done something to the girl, and the girl felt the penetration. She felt the hands, and they were visible on the body. Never, my dear brothers and sisters, you protect your wives, you protect your daughters. Don't have them walking around the house naked. Put a bra, underwear, what goes on in your house. I'm not trying to be morbid, but have your wife at least have that on. Don't go parading around naked. I'm not talking about when you go take a shower. We're not talking about the split seconds. I'm talking about parading around through the house, naked. Don't do it, because we know that the shaitan, the evil ones, like that. So just avoid that. That's just some advice, and this is a proven case. It's proven cases like this. Don't do it. the other part of this is the sihr and sha'wذة is part of a work that influences the body and the heart. It's true. It influences the body and the heart because there's a reaction to it. And you take a blood test of people who are entrenched, embodied with this stuff. Their levels, their hormonal levels are out of this world. Also, the heart is influenced by something unnatural. Then there's a war that takes place between your inner soul, because now the goodness of your heart, you Muslims, and then the evilness that's trying to take over. There's a war that happens inside you. This is what happens when you incorporate sorcery and magic in your life. Why do you think our ancestral brothers, I'm talking about Idris Aloma in particular, Canon Borno, his famous sultanate in West Africa, why do you think he was so hard on the African traditional religions? We're not here, I'm not trying to defame anybody. I'm talking the truth because this is history. And our brother was a strong Muslim and mujahid, and he didn't like it because he knew the devilishness of it. And we have Africans practicing this stuff. We're not talking about Ifa. We're not talking about Orissa. We're not talking about voodoo or obia. No, we're talking about some other deadly arts that are practiced where they actually summons the devil. Ifa, they're not summons the devil. I'm not saying that because I studied African history. I'm pretty versed at that. And Ifa, Orissa, they're not summoning the devil. But there's some that do summons the devil. Idris Aloma found these people and he eliminated them. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And speaking of that, you Muslims who want to engage in this, there's a consensus. You don't have a janazah. Hear me right. Janazah means the funeral prayer for the Muslims. You are engaged in this and you're caught at it and you're killed. No one gives you janazah. There's no congregation of Muslims in the masjid. There's no imam praying over you. Nobody prays over you. And the Prophet ﷺ has got examples of some of this thing and where they're put. And it's shameful. Again, this is real. This is serious business. You Muslims, stay away from it. Even during hard times, the devil will come to you and he say, you know what, Yahya, I know you need money. I know you're mad at these people over here. But look, hey, why don't you do this? And then when you are weaker in your weak state because you're angry, this time, my brothers and sisters, pull out the fingers and start making dhikr Allah to drive the devil away. When you start doing that, he don't like that. You start, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. You start doing things like this, he's gone. But if you sit there and you ponder his words, he can get you money. He'll start making you go out there to sell drugs, or he'll find some way to make revenge on your brother and sister out there who hurt you. And you listen to him. Now he may got you. He may have got you. Be careful, my brother and sister. We all are vulnerable. I don't care who you are. You get angry, the devil comes. But our method as Muslims, we make dhikr Allah. Remember I told you about the demonstrations weeks ago. I talked about demonstrations when the Muslims are making demonstrations and they say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and alhamdulillah, and they're taking shahadatain and whatnot. I said the heavens open up and the devil leaves. So remember that, my brothers and sisters, in your time of need, when you're angry and you get the Quran and read it, or you make dhikr. If you can't read because you're so upset, make dhikr. Make dhikr Allah. Last of this, the Muslim puts the way of the devil as his ibadah. Ibadah othan, meaning the worship of idols. Not the idols that we see like, the statues, but there's different types of idols. He gets you to worshiping revenge. This is idol. This is idol worship. Those who are subject to that because you've been harmed, you've been messed over, you've been roughshod over. So you say okay, and you begin to make ibadah over revenge. The devil comes in to assist you there, and his demons come to assist you. This is what we're talking about here. You make the way of the devil as part of your ibadah. At this point, when you start doing this, you're one step away from Iman. You're almost gone. Be careful, my brothers and sisters. Then the last of this is, again, there is war inside you. The hands that are prevalent in Islam. You say, Yahya, what are you talking about? The hands are used to what? To fight for our Islam. We do this by what? Changing things that are wrong. We write. We serve our brothers and sisters. We serve our families. We serve our husbands. We serve our wives with the hands. This is a conflict once you join in with Sa and Shawayda. It's conflict with the hands. The conflict now also is with the heart. And so what happens with the heart? You have a battle of what is good and what is evil. Now, you have with the eyes. Your eyes begin to play tricks with you because as the devil begins to put his poison in you, you start seeing things that you don't actually see. You see Yahya walking there and you get mad at Yahya and you'll say, why is Yahya doing this? And you'll come up to me and start talking to me and I'm looking at you, what are you talking about? He's going under some machination that's happening because he's been influenced by the devil. Then here, the mind. Aqal. Okay, here, the mind is affected. There's a war going on. Brothers and sisters, this is good advice. And those who live in the United States, you don't really have to deal with that. But if you come to Africa and the Middle East and Asia, you will have to deal with it or you go to northern Nigeria, even though they're under the Sharia, it's prevalent there. It's all over the place in Africa, everywhere. No African country don't have it. All of them have it. And again, we're not talking about the brother who's practicing Orisha, no, or the brother who's practicing Obia, no. We're not talking about this brother here, the one who's practicing another African traditional religion, like Obia or something like this, voodoo. No. We're talking about the ones who are actually working with the Shaitan and the devil. And that's their worship. This is who we're talking about right here. Now you say, Yahya, what is this? What is this called? What is this science? What is this? How can I research this? How can I start to get knowledge on this? This bab is called Kaid. Listen to the words in Arabic. Kaid Sah. If you understand this in Arabic, it's kind of funny in a way. It's the decoy, how would I say in English? Like the decoy, the hypocrisy that's being used, and the ser is part of this. So you say Kaid, ser, this is the bab. This is a science. This is a science. And when you take these courses, you'll be shocked what you learn. But you as Muslims, you should have education in this because every Muslim should understand the Nواقض al-Islam to protect his Islam and to protect his whole Tawheed. When a modern Muslim come and say, no, I don't need this. I won't follow this. You don't need to learn this. You don't listen to them because this here will help to protect you. When you know the 10 nullifiers of Islam, you're on your way, my brothers and sisters. You're going the right path. But if you stay away from that and you listen to the disbelievers and the hypocrites, you may fall into one of these days, and you may not have the excuse on Yom Kiyama. Be very careful. I suggest all of you learn the Nواقض Islam. This seventh here is serious business. And the brothers and sisters who moved to Africa, they may have experienced some of this and don't quite understand what has happened to them. You have to be very careful, very, very careful of this. It's everywhere. It's everywhere from North Africa to the South Africa. It's everywhere. Now, what do the fuqaha ulama say about these individuals? Basically, again, I'm looking at Sheikh al-Dima, and he's saying here that innahu kana munafiqan, he's a hypocrite, or fasiqan, he's immoral. Wa asiyan, he's rebellious. This is what they're saying in Arabic here. And this is what they're calling them. So again, they did not say they were Muslim. No. Hear what they say? Innahu kana munafiqan. He's a hypocrite because he's portrayed himself as Muslim when he doesn't. He hates the Muslims. He fights the Muslims. He wanted to kill the Muslims. He wanted to use Sah and Shawayda against them. He doesn't like them. He's immoral. Who hurts another person? You mad at someone and you go to put poison in their food? You know, you understand what I mean? That's immoral. And in rebellion, you're rebellion against subhanahu wa ta'ala's words. You are in rebellion against that. So this is what the scholars are saying. Now you say, okay, yeah, all right, but can you prove to me that that subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about these guys? Well, let's go to Baqarah, and the verse is 102 as I laid out here. And 102 is long. But as you read this here in English, for those who read English, I'm going to read some of this portion here in English. This 102, if you read this good, you see how important subhanahu wa ta'ala is put about this magic. He says here, they follow what the evil ones give out falsely against the power of Solomon. Now remember this, inside the Quran, there was an accusation against Solomon, alayhi salatu salam. It was against him. But subhanahu wa ta'ala vindicated to say it wasn't him. The blasphemers, these are the hypocrites, the liars, and so forth. The blasphemers were not Solomon. See, subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it was not King Solomon, because there is a lot of Christians and Jews too who believed that Solomon was involved in magic and sorcery. It's not true. Subhanahu wa ta'ala said he was not involved in that. He says, but the evil ones teaching men magic and such things came down at Babylon to the angels Harut and Marut. But neither of these taught anyone such things without saying, we're only for a trial. Such things without saying, we are only for a trial. So do not blaspheme. This is what these two angels are saying. You see the seriousness of this, my brothers and sisters. Subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about this because they accuse Solomon, alayhi salatu salam, of this. And subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no, it's not him. It's these liars, these blasphemers. It was them. Then he goes on, they learn from the means to sow discord between man and wife. We have that today. Remember, I told you, we'll have some man who gets angry with his wife. He said, you know what? I want her subjugated. I don't like her, what she said to me. And I don't like what she did to me the other day. So he goes to the sorcerer. He gets a potion. He says, look, here's what I want you to do. I want you to put 3 drops of this in her drink 3 times a day for a couple of days. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. We've had people who have actually died from this stuff, because what these sorcerers mix in that is actually like a poison. And the woman goes through a lot of different things, and men too, when they get in. I mean, if you go look at this, I'll give you something and we'll get back on this. One of these sorcerers, when they went after the wife, went after the husband, he was given this. His whole arm became black here. I mean, with a hideous type of thing. When the scholars saw it, they knew automatically it was from Seth. They began to get the water, and those are remedies. That's another thing you should be taught. They begin to get water, and then he began to read the Quran over it. And he read the Quran, and then they began to wipe over it to remove this. Days later, this stuff was gone. My brothers and sisters, this wicked stuff is real. It is real. So Subhanahu wa ta'ala further says, but they could not thus harm anyone except by Allah's permission. Now, what do we mean by that? Subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala governs all things, right? But those who are weak in faith is the one Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, I remove my hand from them. I'm not going to stop them because they don't make ibadah. They don't pray. They don't do the things necessary to worship. So Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give them protection. Have you noticed it? You see what he says here. He's talking with those type of individuals, the modern Muslim in particular, who dances around Islam, plays with Islam, and so forth and so on, these people can fall victim to sorcery. Very easy for them to fall victim to it. And then he says, and they learned what harmed them and not what profit them. And they knew the buyers of magic would have no share in happiness of the hereafter. Every Muslim know that if you involved in this, you're going to the fire. But yet they still bought into it. And vile was the price for what they did to sell their souls. They sold their souls for one vow that cost them a lot of money to go to the sorcerer. He goes so he can go hurt his wife. He sold his soul to the devil for that, so he can exact revenge on his wife. So that verse is proof to tell you the seriousness of this situation, our brothers and sisters. And I know a lot of people will say, because I know I've heard a lot. People are very angry with me because I went through the Nawaaqid Islam. And I have to go through that. You say, well, why don't you skip this? I cannot. Because if you understand the Aqeedah is what brings you to Islam, what strengthens you in Islam. And then the Aqeedah also gives you things that take you away from Islam. I have to, my brothers and sisters, to talk to you about these things, if you're Muslim, to keep your Islam strong. So if this affects you, you're mad because you have relationships with disbelievers that are unwholesome. Or you mad at me because I revealed that. Or you mad at me because I talk about sorcery. That's not my objective. But I must talk to you about this. I'd be remiss because this is part of the Aqeedah. What I'm teaching you now, what I'm talking about, this is part of the Aqeedah. I have to give you this. I can't sugarcoat this. I won't do that. So I know a lot of Muslims have been angry with me because I covered some things of the nullifiers they don't like. And probably I'm going to anger some people about this. But I'm not going to say I don't care. I do care. I'm hoping that it affects you enough to where you go back to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and ask for forgiveness. And that you go back to learn this stuff, these Nawaaqid Islam, the nullifiers of Islam. And that's my objective, is to educate you. But yes, you get mad with me, but you go hit the books and you go make Tawbah. This is all I want. You go hit the books and you start to study this. And then you can come to me and you say, yeah, I agree with you, my dear brother. I would love that day when I have somebody come to tell me that, because they were involved in some of these nullifiers. Now, what is the other conditions here of what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, his promise to these people? Let's go to Surah Tawbah, which is number 9, and we go to 67 and 68. Why I'm using this? Because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, in this particular Surah 9, he was angry because of what the Mushrikeen had done for many years against the Muslims. Even in this chapter, he didn't even say Bismillah Rahman Rahim. He did not. He went straight into the treachery of the Mushrikeen against the Muslims. This particular surah is widely used by the disbelievers to use against the Muslims to say that we are warmongers. But we're not, because if anyone understands this surah, that's not what this is about. I use these here because I want to lay sure that the modern Muslim and the Muslims who are involved in this sorcery here, that they know that their destination, because they think that they can walk around and they can do this and there's no repercussions against them. 67, hear what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says here. This is Surah 9, 67. The hypocrites, men and women, have an understanding with each other. That's true. You have the hypocrites, you have the man and woman hypocrite. And who is their daddy? In other words, it's not Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, it's the devil. It is the devil, is their daddy. And he is the one to bring them together. It's him who gives them the ways of hypocrisy. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala never feeds not one person hypocrisy. He does not give them sihr. He does not give them magic or sorcery. He doesn't give you Cade to fool people and deceive people. That comes from the devil. Then he says, they enjoin evil and forbid what is just, and are close with their hands. You see what he says? They reverse what is good. They practice what is bad, and they try to stop what is good. Then he says, they have forgotten Allah. Remember what I said? So he has forgotten them. People involved in this, he removed his hand. Then he says, verily, the hypocrites are rebellious and perverse. That's for the modern Muslims who practice this type of thing and practice other things of Nwaaqid al-Islam, saying that they're covered. Nothing's going to happen to them. Your destination for this is the fire, unless you make repentance. Now, 68, subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah has promised the hypocrites, men and women, and the rejectors of faith, meaning the Salibiyin, the people who are fighting against the Muslims, the crusaders, the ones who say they're Muslims when in fact they're working with agencies against the Muslims. He's talking about these people. He's talking about these rejectors of faith. The fire of hell. Again, Allah promises the hypocrites, men and women, and the rejectors of faith, which is the fourth category, remember, of the disbelievers, the heartbeat. Remember those who fight against the Muslims. The fire of hell, therein should they dwell. Sufficient is it for them. For them is the curse of Allah and enduring punishment. They have incurred the wrath of subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's your ammunition, my brothers and sisters, for the modern Muslim, the modern hypocrite, and the Salibiyin. The Salibiyin are the crusaders. This is what we call them in the Arabic language, because they go invade the Muslim lands. We call them Salibiyin. This is what they are. They're crusaders. And this is what he's talking about here. So I give you those two, but I'm going to give you another one that I told you many times I always like. Because, excuse me. No, I'm not going to give you this one at this time. I'll back off this one because there's a lot. I'm kind of running out of time too. I won't give you that one. I'll use that for another episode. But there's another verse I like to use as well, but I won't use it here. So I'm closing on number 7. Number 7 of the Nwaaqid is sorcery and magic and those who use it and so forth and so on. I gave you a quick course because actually this course here is very long. It's very long. And you have to learn it and you have to study it and you got to get tested on it to test your knowledge. And then when you test it and you pass it with flying colors, not with 50%, pass it with 100%, then you can move on to the next bab. And so, speaking of that, my brothers and sisters, I want to say that yesterday, the brothers on Saeed's program talked about one of these serial Adu Mujrim, who's been after the Muslims for a while. He's been after the Muslims who because they're Muslim, and then he's after the Arabs, and he's focused strictly on that. And they presented their case yesterday pretty well. I watched it, and I congratulate them for that because they presented their case very well, because he was running roughshod over Islam. He was making accusations against the Prophet ﷺ. He was making accusations against the Muslims as well. But on Saeed's program, and the guys and the brothers did a good job. They handled it with grace, and they talked about the fallacies of some of the haters of Islam when they don't understand Arabic and they see the translation is not right. And our brother Talib, he broke it down. He broke down the words of the English and showed the Arabic. Clearly, if you read Arabic, it's not the same as was written in English. So they clarified that. This is what we need. And this is what we're talking about. We need people to defend the religion, because now we have people who will not defend the religion. And we have people coming on shows and going with other haters, and they're defaming the Muslims. They're talking against the Prophet ﷺ. They're talking against all the Muslims, and they make lies against the Muslims. And this is not good. And we fight against them. So we have programs to fight these people, and we fight them with the Quran and the Sunnah. We don't fight them with rocks and stones and guns. No, we fight them with the truth. And that's what they did last night. And they presented a good case. But we know this brother, he's a serial adu mujrim. And he is not going to stop. I've talked to him. Saeed's talked to him. Some other brothers talked to him in the past. He's not going to, and on top of that, he's an apostate. So remember what I used the words last week? Remember what the great Sheikh Islam Taymiyyah said about them? What he called them? He said, "Inhu kana what? Mortadin kafiran." They're the worst disbelievers. They are apostated disbelievers. That's what he is. This is the term they call them under the Sharia. Inhu kana mortadin kafiran. This is what this guy is. Okay. Now we're going to cover number 8 a little bit, and I'm going to go back on that in another episode because I covered of magic and sorcery because it's so serious. And I'm hoping, my brothers and sisters, that I reached you and not anger you. But if I angered you, that is not my intention, because I'm only a servant of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And what I have here and what is in front of me is what I give you. And what I try to give you, I try to give you to the best of my ability, so that way you can discern. I'm not here as a vehicle to make friends, no. And as you heard me say many times, I try to treat everybody with respect, but I'm a stickler. If you fight against the Muslims, I'm not going to be merciful with you. And that even goes for the Muslims. If you do something wrong, I'm going to say something. But if when you do something right, I'm going to commend you for it, because that's what we're supposed to do as Muslims. But when you do something wrong, I will come in private. I can't say, hey, look, Yahya, guess what, man? I think you did wrong here. You said this, you shouldn't have said that. I will help you, and so forth. That's who I am. But if you do something wrong, I will also get on you for that, because that's what we're supposed to do. Because why? You say, well, Yahya, why are you like this? Because the African people have been misled for 400 years. And I'm going to tell you, frankly, I'm tired of it. We expect the Tuba to do this, but not our own people. When our own people engage in this, like this Adu Mushrim who's going after the African-American Muslims, this kind of people like this, then I take offense to this, because these are African people who are trying to mislead other African people. And if you saw one of my programs earlier, I had names for these kind of people. Remember, I called them in one show I had what the old school black folks used to call them down the river Negroes, or the house Negro, what Malcolm calls them. So I'm going to be, very harsh on these kind of people until they see the right way. When a man comes to you and he tells you something, even if you're not a Muslim, you should be always check out his sources, because you don't know. And I heard the brother, I was given the tape. I heard the brother talk. He even had the audacity to say he read the Quran and the Hadith. I wish I would have been there and I would have asked him. I would have said, that's interesting what you just said here. Now you pull out these verses of the Quran and you tell me which ones you're talking about here to bolster your case. I would have said that to him. I wouldn't want to take over the show, but I would go after the guy. I would ask him, you show me in the Quran where you're talking about here. And let's go over it. I would have took over. I wouldn't want to, but I would have stopped it, because why? I don't want nobody to mislead our people away from Islam. You come to Islam, you should be given the right guidance to it, not the false guidance. Like this guy here is trying to get you to believe that me and all the other African Americans, we're basically standing at the foot of Arabs, and the Arabs are walking over us as though we're slaves to them. This is his mentality, that we as Muslims are down on the ground. And when the Arab come, a white Arab on top of that, we play step and fetch it with them and kiss their boots. I haven't done that. I don't think any of them have done that either. I have never seen anybody do that. And I don't even expect even the white Arabs who are quote unquote Muslims, they don't expect that. We know some of them are very racist, but we have black people too who are racist as well against their own. We know that as well. So, but he picks that venue. We have to take exception to that. We have another Muslim, and I'll cover this and I'll stop a little bit on this to give you a backdrop, because I'll cover this in a couple of days or so. The 8th one. The 8th, Nawaaqid Islam, is the other Muslim I was talking about earlier. This Muslim here is more responsible for the death of millions of Muslims because of his actions. And this is apostasy. I mean, real big apostasy. This is clear apostasy from the deen, from the religion, is these people who do this. Okay, where are you at here now? Okay, yeah. I'll give you because I got it. I don't want to speak in Arabic. Okay. The eighth is this. I'll read it to you, and we'll get ready to close here. The backing and supporting the polytheists and aiding them against the Muslims. And the evidence of this is the saying of Allah the Most High. Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like them. Subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like these particular quote unquote Muslims who what? Go aid the disbelievers, the polytheists. Now here, again, my dear brothers and sisters, I don't want this confusion. I don't want our brothers and sisters who are Christian, who are Rastafarian, to mean that we're talking about me talking against the Muslims, talking Muslims to hate you just because you're Rastafarian. No. That's not what we're talking about here. If you've been following my classes, I gave you this distinction. I gave you the 4 levels of the disbelievers. I said 3 of them we are to what? Treat them with respect. The 4th one is what we're talking about here, the one who fight the Muslims. You are not to go with them to aid them. The 3 here, these are some of our cousins and uncles, right? Think about it. Our mothers and fathers covered the 3 here. They don't fight us, so we don't go after them. The 4th one is who we're talking about, and this is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about here. These people here, because they fight the Amr Allah. They fight against the Muslims. They try to make us disjointed. They try to destroy the Ummah. My mother and father, so they didn't do that. Our brothers and sisters who are, our blood brothers and sisters who are Christians and so forth and so on, or don't believe in things, they're not fighting us. We're not talking about those here. And I give you this again. Remember, Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the distinction. He said in Surah 60, verse 8, he says, those people who are non-Muslims, who treat you kindly, you can reciprocate. I'm giving you the difference. I don't want somebody to come back and accuse, because I've heard this already. Oh, yeah, he'll use this to show he hates the Christians, he hates the Jews, and he hates the Rastafarians. No, I didn't say that. But I go by the wallaha wa baraha, yes. And I love for the sake, and I hate for the sake. But as I explained, hey, I'm from Compton. I'm from Compton, California. I still have brothers and sisters there I truly love. They're not Muslims. I don't go after them. I don't. I still call them my brothers, because I was 5 years old. I've been knowing them since I was 5 years old. I'm an old man now, and we're all old. I still look at them the same way. They don't fight me. So we're not talking about that. So I want that understood. We're not talking about my brothers and sisters I knew in Compton. We're not talking about them. We're talking about the Salibiyin. We're talking about the Crusaders who fight the Muslims. And here, the Muslim goes to aid them. That's what we're talking about here. This is apostasy big time, because they have led to millions of Muslims in the past and every year to be killed. You cannot do that. And the first surah that he gives us proof, Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this, is Surah 5. Surah 5:51, which is a famous one. And Surah 5:51, and I'll briefly cool that, and then we'll get ready to end this. Subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this. He says, "O you who believe, take not the Jews and Christians as friends and protectors. They are but friends, protectors of one another. If any amongst you takes them as the protectors, then surely you are among them. Verily, Allah guides not these people who are polytheists and wrongdoers and unjust." Again, Subhanahu wa ta'ala is not talking about our dear brothers and sisters we know that don't fight us. He's not talking about those. He's talking about, again, the Crusaders, the killers of Muslims who go out to kill the Muslims and go fight the Muslims. He's talking about you don't go to aid them. This is what he's talking about here. He made it clear. This is one of the proof he gives against the Muslim, and it's apostasy. it's big time apostasy. And here, one of the biggest sheikhs that I know, and I follow many of his fatwas, I've read many of his fatwas. Here's what he says about this. He gave a fatwa talking about this issue. He says, helping the kuffar, we talking about the warmongers, the heartbeat, the Salibiyin. He talks here. He says, helping the kuffar against the Muslims is a very important issue nowadays, since there's a great mix of Muslims and the kuffar infidels. It's true. We have Muslims born in California, New York, and you live, I lived in the United States 50 years. You know, you live around the people, non-Muslims, the disbelievers, you live among them. This action constitutes apostasy. Yes. Again, hear what he says. Helping the kuffar, the heartbeat, the Salibiyin, remember those people, against the Muslims is very important issue nowadays. Since there is a great mix of Muslims and the kuffar, this action constitutes apostasy. And the scholars also say to this, the Muslim scholars have agreed that whoever aided, supported the kuffar, infidels against the Muslims, helped them anyway, then he is a kafir, big time, just as they are. Meaning he has reciprocated his Islam. I don't care how much he talks about Tawheed, how many prayers he makes. I don't care how many dhikr he makes. When he goes to do this to aid the heartbeat, the Salibiyin, and the people like that against the Muslims, you're just like them. Now you reverted to, as you go to help the Salibiyin, you're not a Muslim, you're with them. You are just as bad as they are. You're no longer, you don't have the janazah if you're killed. You're not honored as a Muslim, and there's no the things that the honorary baths and all the stuff that we've given for the Muslims when they pass, you're not giving this because you've apostated out because of your work against the Muslims. Beware, my brothers and sisters. We have a lot of that today. And let me tell you something, and we'll close. Some of the individuals today, I know in the United States, I had a big war last year sometime with one imam. Now, I'm not going to give his name. And I found out what he was doing. I learned it only by accident. And he thinks that what he has done by turning in Muslims behind their back, going to the police, and he was only giving up the Muslims who were strong, the Muslims who he, quote unquote, felt they were, I hate to even use the word Wahhabi, but who were like this and were like the Salafi, the Salaf, wear long beards, wear the black clothing and so forth and so on. When they came to his masjid, he turned them in as though they were criminals. This here is part of that. You cannot do it. And I told him, and I wrote a 4-page letter in Arabic to him and to a prominent brother in Islam there, African-American in New York City. Everybody probably know who he is. I wrote it to him, 4 pages, talking about the error of this guy's ways. And you cannot do this, my brothers and sisters. I don't care. I disagree with some of the things I see my brothers and sisters do, and some of them and what they've adopted. But I don't go to the Salibiyin and the Crusader so they can go and cut their heads off. I won't do that. It's wrong. Because the minute you go to take his Islam away, Subhanahu wa ta'ala is take your Islam away from you. Remember that. And I'll read this and I'll make my point to you, and then we'll close. Surah 4 is Surah Nisa. This is one I use a lot of times, but I use this, and this fits for the ones who are doing this. Surah 4, 141, and you go to near the last here, because I'll read this in English. It says here, never will Allah grant to the unbelievers a way to triumph over the believers. The scholars have made mention to this, meaning that when you go to the disbelievers, the Salibiyin and the Crusader types, the warmonger types, and you go to assist them against me or against Amina or against another Muslim, he's saying here, you're going to them to what? To take our Islam away from us and to put their way on us. That's apostasy, my brothers and sisters. You've apostated from religion. You have no right to go to another person to have that person take our Islam away from us, because that's what they will do. That's what they will do. You know what they do? They go there and they put you in place, and they force you to eat pork, or they don't give you the things that you're supposed to as a Muslim. They go after you and they put you in judgments under their rules and laws, not under the Sharia. You just put that Muslim under his way. This is why the Muslims, the scholars talk about this, why they're hard about this one. They call this apostasy, because the Muslim who does this, you hurt your brother, you kill your brother, you humiliate him when you do this. And this is why this is a serious condition here. And it's a nullifier. You're gone. You're out. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Now, I'll say this, I will close. The brothers and sisters, we have conditions of this now. We have sometimes a Salibiyin will go to Yahya and say, you know, Yahya, I have something on you, man. You know, I know you work over here at McDonald's. I see you going out with this girl at night. I see you go to her apartment. You know, I put devices in there. I saw what you're doing with the girl inside there. You know, I'm gonna go to your wife, or I'm gonna go to your boss and tell you that you're having relations with one of the managers inside McDonald's. And you panic. I'm gonna lose my job. He's gonna go to my wife. Then he says to you, you know what? I need you to go and do this. I need you to work against the Muslims. I do it out of fear. It's wrong, yes. That's not apostasy. It's a difference. You see, my brothers and sisters, this is not apostasy. He's doing it out of conditions, out of fear. We don't consider him an apostate. Yes, he's wrong but each person, you have a family. If you lose that job, how are you going to put food on the table? Yes, subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us our substance, but on the same token, you put your family in harm's way, because now they don't have nothing to eat. You have children that's going to expect food on the table, expect clothing and so forth. And your wife, she needs things, and you have to provide for them. So you say, okay, you have no other choice. So you go and do the things that this wicked Salibi does to tell you to do. That's not apostating. We're talking about the people to go to the Salibi and say, I work for you. Those, we have no mercy for them. Those are the apostates. But the woman who makes a mistake, and they watch her and say, you know what? Hey, guess what, Amina? I caught you. I saw what you're doing over here with Yahya. I know what you're doing here at night with him. So, you know what? I'm going to go to your husband and I'm going to go to your work and tell that you're doing. Amina, she panics. Okay, but no, don't do this. Please don't go to my husband. Okay, you go to the section of the girls, mash it there. I want you to watch this one woman. She's got a blue abaya, and you make a report against her. This type of thing. She's not an apostate. So I want you to see the difference, my brothers and sisters, on that. So I gave you a lot today. This is very harsh, very difficult stuff. I know that for some to listen to. And some say, well, I don't believe in this because living in LA, you don't experience this. But the Muslims who live in Africa know this to be true, especially our brothers there in Kano. They'll tell you that. They'll tell you about this type of stuff. There's a practice of that. And when they catch these people, what they do to them. In Borno and so forth and so on, there's that's not only there, but other places too, even in Ghana. And even now, I don't know what they're doing in Gambia. In the Gambia, I'm not sure, but I know what they're doing to them in northern Nigeria when they catch these guys. I'm talking about the ones who practice Seher and Shawela. This is harsh, my brothers and sisters, but I had to present the picture to you because they're Nawaqids. They take you from Islam. So I gave you a quick lesson on this today. Stay away from this stuff, my brothers and sisters. And next week, inshallah, I'll get into this and I'll give you some of the portions. What happens when they use magic on you? What do you do? How do you fight it off? What can you do? I will cover that, inshallah ta'ala, to help those Muslims who've been disaffected by those who is using Sah and Shawada against you. And there's methods to do it, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll also cover the rest of the number 8, talking about the hypocrites who help the disbelievers against the Muslims. So my dear brothers and sisters, Amina, thank you, my dear sister, for coming, and Mystic, thank you for showing up. and those brothers and sisters in the who are listening today, and those that listen in the future. And I will suggest the Muslims, if you have people that are who do not understand the Nwaaqid Islam, you should go ahead and download my videos to talk about, because I went through these. I'm going through the 10 and go through these lessons and learn it. If you don't want to learn it from me, go on YouTube and find somebody to learn it, and get well versed in it. You should. I think it should be a requirement for every Muslim to learn the Nwaaqid Islam, because they are important, and you should understand your deen. You should understand your religion, because if you don't, you're going to ask for it. Especially with the evilness today, the devil is around everybody, and so this is something that we have to be very careful of. And the Nwaaqid helps us. You understand this, you go and then you teach it to the other brothers. You can give what I've been talking. You can find the other ones in my, on my site, Yahya Shabaka, and you go in there and you download the things about the Aqeedah. And my brothers and sisters, especially in America, you should learn your Aqeedah. Even if you don't want to learn from me, fine, there's no problem. Get somebody to learn it from, because that is part of your religion. And so, my brothers and sisters, thank you for listening to me. And I'm happy that I had the opportunity to present this, because this is a serious conditions. The 7th nullifier and the 8th nullifier are serious business in Islam. And so I'm your servant. I'm here to give you what I know. And I'm hoping that you learned something from it today. And as usual, I always hope that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala bless you and your families there, especially in the United States. And you guys be careful when you go outside that house and in the car, because the Tuba policeman is there waiting on you. Be very careful and protect our young men, because you know what? The Tuba police are after our young men. They want to wipe out our seed. So be very careful of them and protect them as usual. And also protect your brothers and sisters, irrespective of their religion. Those who do not fight you for your faith, you help them and they help you. There's no problem with that. You can do that. But just be mindful of what is happening and be careful what is happening. And lastly, if you're asked to go into a demonstration, remember I gave you some conditions of that. Be very careful, my brothers and sisters, when these black groups come to you and they say, look, we need you to come and demonstrate. You Muslim, you better be very careful of that. And remember, I gave you the conditions about if you're going to do something like that, there's some conditions that should be met. And most of them don't meet that. Stay out of them, because you could end up in jail or dead. You can have your head cracked open and when you have been innocent. So be very careful of that, especially in the United States. When you go to demonstrations with the disbelievers and so forth and so on, and these groups who are fighting the police, you be very careful when you go out there. And also for the Muslims in Muslim countries, when you go out and demonstrate, you use the conditions that I was telling you about. If they don't meet those conditions, don't go out there. Because you find yourself in trouble. So, okay, my brothers and sisters, thank you for listening to me. And I'll leave you with the beautiful words of Jannah. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi barakatuh.